door was that one night someone just came and took it. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Doors pop up and disappear from all over this shit.
And no one's found it yet.
And to this day,
What happened to Sunday night?
whatever happened to that Sunday? I think it was alright.
You think it was him? It was a very intense episode.
All right, so I want to share with you a story.
Should I hit play?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Rabbi David Goldwasser, who I don't know personally, but he has a book out and I read it and had a nice story in it. Rabbi Goldwasser tells a story. He's a rabbi in New York. And he said that at 3 o'clock in the morning, he gets a phone call. And there's some rabbis who answer their phones at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's some rabbis who never answer their phones ever. My rule is that I sleep with my phone under my pillow. Whenever someone needs to call me, hopefully I'll wake up and answer it. It's a good meter to have if you're a person that someone needs to reach. Just make sure you're always able to be reached. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, this guy's phone starts ringing. Rabbi Goldwasser picks up the phone. He says, "Who can be calling me in such an hour?" And on the other side, there's a guy who says, "Hi, is this Rabbi Goldwasser?" He says, "Yes." He says, "This is Lieutenant so-and-so from the New York Police Department." All right, so it's a good time to call. He says, "Can I help you?" He's like, "Yes." He said, "All right, how can I help you?" He said, "There's a girl, a young lady, who's about to jump off of the roof of a building here in Manhattan." He says, "Okay, yeah." He says, "Well, can you help me?" He says, "How can I help you?" He said, "This girl says that she's going to jump unless she talks to you." She says, "What's her name?" He tells her name. He says, "Does she know me?" He says, "No, the girl says she doesn't know you." So then why is she calling me? He says, "Rabbi, don't ask questions. Right now she's on the verge of jumping off the roof. Just take the phone." And here's the girl screaming in the background, "If you take one step closer, I'm going to jump." So what is he going to do? Say no? So they take the phone and they throw it to the girl because she wouldn't let the police come closer. She grabs the phone. She says, "Hello?" And says, "Hi, I'm Rabbi Goldwasser." He says, "I don't care if you're going to jump or not. I don't know you. If you jump, I didn't lose out on anything. So I just want to make that clear." Not what I would have said if I was another line. He says, "But I just want to ask you a very simple question. What should I tell your chatan? What should I tell your husband to be your groom? What should I tell him? Why'd you jump?" And she stops and says, "What are you talking about? I'm single." And he says, "I know. The Gemara tells us in Masechet Sota," also something I wouldn't say on the phone if the girl was about to jump off. The Gemara says in Masechet Sota that 40 days before you were born, Hashem called out your name and someone else's name. And there's a guy out there in the world who's waiting to marry you. And you know what? He's never going to get married. If you jump, he's never going to get married. So what should I tell him? Just when I meet him and he comes to ask me for a bracha because he can't find his proper shidduch. So what should I tell him? What's your final words to him?" He says, "Rabbi, do you mean that there's someone out there who wants to marry me?" I said, "Of course." I said, "Rabbi, are you being serious?" He said, "Sure." He says, about 30 seconds later, 30 seconds of silence, Lieutenant so-and-so of the New York Police Department takes the phone back and says, "Rabbi, I don't know what you said, but she's in safe hands." And there's so many people who wake up in the morning, so many people who wake up in the morning, and think that they're worthless. Think that there's no reason to take another step in this world. Think that there's no reason to live life. Think that they're not good enough, they don't deserve it, nobody loves them, nobody cares about them. And it's simply not true. Because Hashem put us here. And I don't know, I kind of missed the first half of this year, but I do believe in God, I do believe in Hashem, I know how that works. Hashem put me here, Hashem put you here, Hashem put us here for a reason. Because if we didn't have a reason to live, we wouldn't be here. Hashem would have put us here. We wouldn't have stayed in this world. Neshama Karlbach, who's the daughter of Rav Shlomo Karlbach, tells a story. She said when she was 10 years old, she was walking with her father back from a concert, on Friday night. Rav Shlomo was doing a Kabbalah Shabbat and a Friday night dinner at some shul in Manhattan. And they were walking back. And out of the shadows, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, out of the shadows, big 6'4" thug with a gun, points at Shlomo Carlebach's head, says, "Hey, Jew boy, give me your money." It's Friday night. Shlomo Carlebach looks at him and he says, "My holy brother, I love you so much. But it's my Sabbath and I don't have any money on me. But you should know that if I had money, I would give it all to you." Now, I didn't do it for the guy. He said, "Rabbi, I don't care who you are." He said, "Give me your money." And Rav Shlomo says, "I don't have money to give you." And the guy says, "I'm going to put a bullet through your head." And Neshama says, she's 10 years old. She's standing there holding her father's hand. And Rav Shlomo Carlebach looks at this guy in the eyes and says, "My holy brother, you should know that even if you do kill me, I'm never going to stop loving you." And he goes over to this guy. Shlomo Carlebach was a short guy. He goes over, puts his arms around him, gives him a huge hug. Again, not what I would do. This guy starts crying, drops the gun, and says, "I don't know who you are, but it's the first time in my life that anyone has ever given me a hug. It's the first time in my life that anyone has ever given me a hug." There are so many people in the world who haven't been hugged, who nobody's told them "I love you." Nobody told them that they're important, that they mean something. Those of you with parents here, your parents came because they love you, they care about you, and you're lucky because there are so many people in the world who don't have that. You're really lucky to have them. And even though we might fight with our parents and struggle with our parents and have our own parent-kid issues, that never stops. But it means that they care about you. Because if they didn't care about you, they won't let you do whatever. They will let you do whatever you want. They will let you go wherever you want. They tell a story about a king who had 3 sons. And the king wanted to know who the smartest of his 3 sons, who the wisest of the 3 was. He wanted to appoint a successor. So the king gave each of them a room. Not a huge room, not like this, but a small, like one of your dorm rooms. He gave each of them a room and he said, "You have $1,000. $1,000. Go out into the world, take 30 days, and try to fill up this room with something. If you can fill up this room with $1,000, you'll be the next king." Alright? 30 days pass. The first 2 sons are traveling all over the world. They're searching for something that's $1,000 that will fill up an entire room. The 3rd son doesn't do anything, just staying at home. He's not running around, he's not shopping, he's not looking for something that's going to fill up this room. And they're laughing at him, saying, "You're crazy. You have 30 days. The 30 days pass, and the first brother comes. He traveled to China. He managed to get $1,000 worth of rice, and he fills up this entire room with rice. And there's a little bit of space left between the door and between the pile of rice. And the king says, "I'm sorry, you didn't do it. You don't have enough to fill up this room." So the next brother comes. He sent someone to Hawaii. And he comes back with a lot of sugar. And he fills up the entire room, and there's about a centimeter between the door and the sugar. And the king says, "I'm sorry, it's not going to cut it. You're not going to be the king." The 3rd son, who didn't go anywhere, who didn't look for anything, he shows up. He hands his father $997, puts down a candle in the middle of the room, pulls out a match, lights the candle, and the whole room is full of light. And the king says, "This one, he's going to be the king. He's going to be the next king." And it's a rule. It's a rule that exists in the world. That you can be in a really dark place. You can be in a really dark room. But if you have one little candle, one little flame, one little spark, it'll light up the room. You don't need a lot. You just need a little candle. And sometimes we wake up and we look at the world around us. We look at the life that we're in. We look at the place that we're in. We have great goals and ideals. We see the people around us aren't traveling in the same direction as we are. And we lose hope. We say, what's going to be? What's going to be? But all you need is a little candle. Like tonight, one candle, the first night of Chanukkah. And it already lit up the entire room. You have to show people that they're good. You have to show yourself that you're good. But you guys are in a right, and I'll tell you, I teach in a bunch of different places, yeshiva, seminaries, shuls. And there's one special thing here about a right, I'm not just telling you this because your parents are here. I'm telling you this as the honest truth. I don't know how it happens, and I don't know how they do it. Rabbi does recruiting. But it happens to be that every single person that comes to a right, in their own very special way, is a leader. Is a true leader. Is someone who, when they walk out of the doors of this yeshiva, they literally start taking over the world. And I've seen it. We just had an alumni Shabbaton in the Five Towns. First time I've ever been to the Five Towns. In California. Interesting experience.
Sorry.
No offense, just throwing it out there. So, we were there and I was speaking with the guys. Every guy from every year of Oraita so far. I mean, we go way back. And everyone's doing something different. One guy's running programs on campus. The other guy's working in the Hillel house. This guy's teaching at a college. One of our students just started teaching in his elementary school. He decided he's got to teach them everything he learned in Oraita, and he became one of the rabbis. Not a rabbi, he's not even a rabbi. He's a few years older than you guys, maybe a year, 2 years older than you guys. And he decided to go back and say, I don't want the school to mess them up like they messed me up. And he decided to go back to school and redo the entire program, and that's what he's doing. Every single person in this room is a leader. And I can sit here and tell you about how good you are and how holy you are and how special you are but I think every single person here knows how good you are and how holy you are and how special you are. But the world around you doesn't. And the people around you don't. And it's your job as leaders to go out to the world and tell people that. I was at a Shabbat table in my first year in the Rova. There were all kinds of people doing all kinds of interesting things in the Rova. I just came here from America, and I found someone who used to do Shabbat meals together. We rented an apartment in the old city, and we'd have these huge Shabbat meals, 50 people, 60 people coming over for Shabbat. And one Shabbat afternoon, we're sitting there at the Shabbat table. I wasn't a rabbi at the time. And we had the seminary girl at the table, and she looks at me and says, Rabbi, wasn't a rabbi, she says, Rabbi, I'm such a terrible person. It's in front of all the guests. I'm such a terrible person. I said, why are you such a terrible person? And she told me some pretty terrible things. She came to Israel to study in seminary, and we know there's people who fall through the cracks in every institution, seminary too. And she spent most of her time in town, doing all kinds of things she probably shouldn't be doing. I have nothing against town. It's a good place if you know how to do it right. But she spent more time there than she did anywhere else. And she said, she'd go out and she'd do all kinds of things with guys and alcohol and everything else she was doing over there. And she said the moment that killed her, whoa. Can I make a bracha on you? That's Levi and Sam's mom, and I didn't even have words, but after this year, welcome home. So she said the moment that killed her, every single night when she had to get back on the bus to seminary, and I went to this really, really, really Haredi part of town, it was really from, she'd get on this bus, and she clearly, it wasn't like today where they throw people off the bus, there's a woman sitting in the back, and all kinds of crazy things that are going on. Then it was just, you sat down on the bus like every normal human being. And she wasn't exactly dressed like the most modest girl on the bus. And she'd sit there, and the girls that were sitting around her, everyone was holding a Sefer Tehillim, and they were saying, or should I say chapter 20 or chapter 21? Like, what should I do? Seminary girls have these big, dilemmas in their lives. And, they have the other ones who say Perek Shira. Has anyone ever seen Perek Shira? Yeah, do you know what Perek Shira is?
Dog says.
Yeah, the dog says, the frog says, the spider says, ant says. I'm sure it's a very spiritual book, and I know David HaMelech wrote it, but you see people saying it on the bus, and I just, it's cute. And they're thinking, what should I say? Should I say Perek Shira? Say Tehillim? They're chapter 20 or 21. So I'm sitting on the bus, and these girls are there with their bulletproof stockings and their hair in the ponytail, and I'm such a bad person. I'm such a terrible person. What do you tell her? What do you tell her? I mean, she just said some pretty bad stuff. So I thought for a moment. I said, I want to share with you a holy Torah from the Rebbe Rayatz, from the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe. I'm actually not Chabad, if anyone's wondering what the Rebbe number of times, but all my Sfarim on Rav Josh's roof, and the only sefer I was able to get down before candlelighting was the Lubavitcher Rebbe's book on Chanukkah. So this is where some of my source material is coming from. The Rebbe Rayatz, the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, shares something very important. And if you remember this one piece and everything else I said tonight, you forget, it's worth it. The 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe writes that neshamas work like gravity. That's what he writes. Neshamas are like gravity. There are people with very special neshamas that came from really high places in that place called Shamayim. And there are people with not such special neshamas. And their neshamas come from much lower places and they're not ever going to reach anywhere so special or so high. And he says, if you stood on the beach and you stand in the sand and you take a rock and you drop the rock, the sand's right there, you drop it from this high. How deep will the rock penetrate the sand? Not so deep. I don't know if you guys even know what a beach is. I'm here from California. Yeah? You climb on top of the lifeguard tower, right? You're standing on top of the lifeguard that says, do not climb, right? You climb on top, and you take the rock, and you drop it from all the way up there. How much deeper will it penetrate? Much. And the Rebbe Rayatz says, do you know how you can tell how holy of a person you are? Do you know how you can tell how special of a neshama you have? If you fall so low, if you can go to places where nobody else thought they could ever reach, such low places and such dirty places, if you can hit the bottom, it's only because you came from so high up. It's only because you came from the highest places you could come from. But someone whose neshama came from the lower world, someone whose neshama was from right on top of the sand, so they fall into this world, and their life struggle is, which parak of Tehillim should I say? That's their whole life struggle. Should I go to the Kotel or should I go to Kever Rachel? Like, what should I do today? That's what they struggle with. It's not a bad thing. But it doesn't make you bad. Afuch, it makes you so much holier. It makes you so much more special. And it's so true. The lower you fall is the highest you can fly. But just one last story. Probably won't be the last story, but one last story. I heard the story firsthand from the guy who was there. This guy was living with a non-Jewish lady. And his whole family was giving him trouble for it. I mean, how can he do it? He went to yeshiva, da-da-da. So he decided he was going to go and ask the Lubavitcher Rebbe for his advice. I wonder what he would say, right? So he goes to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And you should know one thing, by the way. You should never trust rabbis. It's a rule. I have a rabbi that I learned with here in Yerushalayim. His name is Rabbi Katzin. Rabbi Katzin left Israel, got married to an Israeli girl. He traveled to New York. He founded the first Sephardic high school in New York. And he was doing really well over there, but his wife wanted to live next to her mother. That was her thing. She wanted to go back to Israel. Now, he was a rabbi, but she was like really frum. And he said, listen, I don't want to go back. I have so much work to do here. He says, Eretz Yisrael, how can you miss out on Eretz Yisrael? So they got in this fight. And he said, listen, what if I go ask a rabbi, one of the big dolim? What if I ask him if I should make aliyah? Would you listen to whatever he says? She said, of course. He said, okay. So the next day he got in a cab, went to Williamsburg. Found the Satmar Rebbe. And he said, Rabbi, my wife and I are struggling with an issue. She wants me to make aliyah. But I mean, come on, it's a Zionist state and there's all kinds of terrible things going on there. Should I make aliyah? I mean, I'm doing such great work here. And he's expecting the Rebbe to say, of course not, and throw rocks or something. And the Rebbe says, wow, to have the schus to go live in Israel? That's such an amazing thing, you should do it. So some Rebbe, what he says. So he goes back home. He has to make aliyah. He promised his wife, whatever the rabbi said, that's what he'll do. So they make aliyah. He's sitting in kollel because now he doesn't have a job anymore. That's what you do when you don't have a job. So now his wife says, listen, we need some more money. So we need some more money. I think you should leave kollel and go study in college, in university. So are you crazy? I'm a kollel guy. I'm not going to go to college. And she says, no, I really think you should go to get parnasa for our family. She says, what if I go ask a rabbi? She says, sure, go ask a rabbi. So he goes to Bnei Brak and he finds Rav Shach. Now Rav Shach, I don't know if you know who Rav Shach was. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich and wasn't exactly the guy who was sending people, to study in university. So he goes to sit down with Rav Shach. He knows that if he tells Rav Shach that he needs to go to university, that he'll say no, of course not. So he sits down with Rav Shach and says, listen, we're having parnasa problems. My wife wants me to leave Kollel to go to college. What do you think? He says, wow, that's a great idea. You have the opportunity to go to college, make money for your family. That's a great idea. And so ever since then, he never asked rabbis questions because you can't trust them. So this guy goes to Lubavitcher Rebbe with the exact opposite in mind. And he says, Rebbe, he's in line, it's Sunday, and the Rebbe's giving out dollars, and people are walking by him. And he looks at the Rebbe and he says, Rebbe, I live with a non-Jewish woman. Okay, threw it out there. Now all the Hasidim are like, they froze. You just told that to the Rebbe? Are you crazy? And the Rebbe looks at him, and he says 4 words. He says, I'm jealous of you. And he says, come again? He says, I'm jealous of you. He says, what do you mean you're jealous of me? You're the Rebbe, man. You're jealous of me? He said, I've never been in a situation like you have been. I've never had the opportunity to be in such a situation and want to get out like you do. I've never been in that situation. You're such a holy person. And the guy says he doesn't remember what happened after that. He fainted. He started crying. He woke up the next morning in 770 on a bench. But it's really important to not just light these Chanukiot inside of your house like we do in Chutz La'aretz. We hide them from the world. We hide the light because it's too dangerous to show the light to the world. But sometimes we have to show people that inside of every Jew, inside of every human being, there's a little Hanukkah candle. And tonight it's 1 candle, tomorrow it's 2 candles, and in a few nights it'll be 8 candles. If you light a shamash, it'll be 9 candles. And to tell the world, you're not as bad as you think you are. You're not as low as you think you are. You're such a great person. You're such a good person. You're such a holy person. And that's really the message of Hanukkah. Hashem says, I don't care about the status of the Jewish people, where they're holding spiritually, if they're Greeks or they're Hellenists or they're Jews. I'm going to make sure that the light of Hanukkah gets shown to the entire world. So I just want to give everybody a bracha here. The Gemara in Brachot says, Al tiyeh brikat hediot kala beinecha. Don't let the bracha of ignoramus be light in your eyes. So please don't let this be light in your eyes. I give you a bracha that every one of you will find that inner light inside of you. Find that Hanukkah candle, if you want to call it that. Find the good that you have. Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on the bad. Don't focus on the things you've done or the places you've been. Focus on what you do have and who you really are. And when you find that light and you walk out of this building tonight, you'll just be radiating. With this light, you'll light up people's faces. You light up people's lives. And if it means giving some guy a hug when he's putting a gun to your head, hopefully that will never happen to anybody here. But if it means giving someone a hug, if it means telling someone, I'm jealous of you, if it means telling someone you're really a good person, then so be it. But I give everybody the blessing that you bring out light to the world, and Hashem will finally bring that light, that Or Chadash of Tzion Yir, that new light that will come to Tzion, and we'll have Mashiach. And Rabbi Yoni will be lighting Chanukkah tomorrow, Chanukiot, on the Har HaBayit with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Chag Sameach.